Hey everyone, today I am so excited because I am joined by the man, the myth, the THORChain savior himself, Aaluxx.
Hello. Hi, guys.
Always so great to see you and have a chat with you, and I appreciate you taking time out of your very busy day.
It's my pleasure.
For those of you that aren't familiar, Aaluxx is the founder of Maya Protocol, which is a friendly fork of THORChain. It launched in March of 2023. We did a great interview then, and I just thinking, I can't believe that was already 2 years ago.
Yeah, I remember right before and right after the My Protocol launch, I had a lot of interviews, and yeah, yours was pretty fun. So looking forward to this one.
Yes, you were definitely making the rounds then, and you are now. I mean, it's been a really crazy start to the year for THORChain. I think THORChain has gone from boom to bust to possibly one of the biggest DeFi comebacks in history. So really my intention for this conversation today is to go over what happened. Like, why did it fail? What is the solution that's currently being implemented and seems to be doing pretty well, knock on wood? What does it mean for the future of cross-chain DeFi? Sound good?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, great. So I want to go back to the beginning, just in simple terms. What was THORChain lending? What was THORChain savers? And why did it fail?
Yeah. So savers and lenders was, of course, features that THORChain implemented to try and bring parity between DEX and SEX, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the problem that THORChain had 2 years ago was, in order for swaps to be affordable, you need pools to be deep. So rather, let's go and make the pools deep. But not everybody wanted to add liquidity to double-sided, because then you are exposed to permanent loss. You have double price exposure. It's a complicated issue, and it's honestly just a difficult UX that only more experienced players are willing to do. Or when an inexperienced person does, they have, difficult questions of, oh, where is all my, Bitcoin gone and stuff like that. Why do I have less now if I'm supposed to be getting yield? Mm-hmm. Stuff like that. So what THORChain did back then to try and solve that problem was savers. And the intention of savers is the following. Let's have someone add just one side of the pool, and then they get a little bit less yield to asset on asset. So if I put Bitcoin, my yield is in Bitcoin, and then it's backed by the liquidity in the pool, and it's part of the liquidity of the pool. That way, if that Bitcoin is making the pool deeper, thus making swaps cheaper. And then if the pool expands, which is what we think will happen, RUNE is a growing asset, then actually this is leverage, positive leverage for the LPs, because now they need fewer LP units to back just the Bitcoin, since that guy is not exposed to the RUNE upside. It's all of that upside is just for those that are dual-sided. So that was a thesis. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, we actually wouldn't have ever needed savers, because then Chad had the brilliant idea of streaming swaps. Mm-hmm. So streaming swaps actually solve the TVL problem, because now if you can stream a swap through the pool in this kind of non-custodial way, what you have is that despite the pool being not that deep, you experience a much deeper pool from the point of view of the swap and how much it costs and stuff like that. You do have a little sacrifice of the time dimension, but it's shown to work actually pretty well, because usually you have a node going the other way, and then you can set limits in case you feel that the market can now play against you. Mm-hmm. It works. We found product market fit. THORChain went up, volumes went up, market share went. The problem is, concurrently, there was also another thing cooking besides just savers, which was lending.
Sure.
Now, what was the idea behind lending? Well, THORChain has another problem, which is collateralization. You need to be able to have room price appreciate for the node bonds to grow, for the network to be more collateralized, so it can then go up and go up more TVL, more assets, more secured assets, Rujira, stuff like that, right? We can touch upon later. So the idea was, okay, can we find a product that brings us to parity with central exchanges, that's also revolutionary, that's also going to bring more value to RUNE? And that's when, lending came up. I was honestly always against part of the lending design. My recommendation was to actually have an interest, but the desire was to kind of revolutionize the lending industry and kind of be out there for the little, like have people be able to take no interest loans. Why that brings value, because it would make the pools deeper, room price higher, then swaps would come and take the day. The problem is how it worked, looking under the hood, and it was always open source, it was always transparent, risk reports were published. But what was always happening under the hood is I put my Bitcoin up as collateral, get lent whatever dollars. That didn't really matter what I get lent. It was always recorded in dollars.
Mm-hmm.
So if I took out Bitcoin and took an ETH loan, I didn't get ETH. I don't have to pay back ETH. I have to pay back the dollar value. Okay. Mm-hmm. But what it would do with this Bitcoin, instead of a typical collateral, which is held, in standby, what it would do is actually the protocol would swap that RUNE to RUNE and burn that RUNE. What was called kind of storing the equity. And then at a later point in time, when you would pay back the loan, it would mint RUNE to give you BTC.
Okay.
Now, we see both of these products at face value, they're pretty great. The problem is they both assume something, which is RUNE will perform better than the TVL basket. It's performing better than Bitcoin. It's all fine and dandy. It's a brilliant thing. Yeah. It works out great. But if it doesn't, it's when we start running into problems. And the thing is, the market loves to break things. So when the market knows something, there come the short sellers, there come the pressures, the fear mongers, the fudders, and they can sway the market and thus make these kind of self-fulfilling prophecies happen. So what ended up happening is the system was so reflexive that when stuff started to look, Bitcoin started to pump and RUNE didn't move,
sure,
the problem started to happen that there was less exogenous assets in the pools to pay back savers and lenders if they all paid back their loans and withdrew their liquidity. So, that you're insolvent, right? So the first response was to kind of halt things and kind of see and decide, but that was done a little bit in a unilateral fashion. So that brought some heat, notes immediately unpaused, but, the panic ensued and nodes were forced to pause again. Now, there is people that kind of claim this first pause as the responsible action that, that started this global effect. I disagree. I think the shoe had fallen already. It might have taken a little bit longer, 1 or 2 weeks longer, but if you see the charts, if you see the liquidity, if you see things, it was already insolvent, and people will just realize that eventually, and it would keep dropping.
I know that you expressed some concerns about lending. I'm just curious, were there other early warning signs that this was maybe not going to work?
Yeah, there were dissenters. THORChain Bull was always against folks English lending. He's a very, very smart individual and has a big analytic team behind him. I said, you can get away with your design maybe, but you have to charge interest because it cannot be completely profitless. If it is profitless, it's abusable by the party. They have no cost. If they find a way to attack you, they have no cost to carry it out. And if there had been interest, all of this Bitcoin that was supposed to be collateral stuck in the protocol, if that was paying interest to the pool of Bitcoin, it would incentivize LPs to stay in the pool or make the pool deeper, thus you're never insolvent. So that's why I always recommended that it did have to have interest. It did have, yeah. But without it, it just was a matter of time until the right conditions happened for its downfall.
Are you telling me that 0% loans that can't be liquidated were too good to be true?
The liquidation actually is not the bad part of the design. The no liquidation is doable, I think. The RUNE equity, storing in the RUNE equity, that's when you start saying maybe it can work. The no interest is denied, and that's what I expressed. That's also the reason why we never put lending on Maya protocol. Maya is THORChain, as you mentioned. We have a different set of chains, so we're not like directly competitors. We're actually just bringing THORChain to more chains, and that's what put us in a unique position of understanding THORChain so deeply. Sure. But we never did lending, and I said I'm gonna wait for a full cycle of THORChain for years, see how lending performs, And even then, I would do it with interest. So yeah, it is what it is. The problem happened. Now you have a problem. You owe all of these people like their savers and collateral. Well, collateral minus debt, to be more precise. The question is, okay, you owe them that, but you're insolvent.
So THORChain savers failed. THORChain lending failed. THORChain is left with a $200 million hole. Validators are leaving. It's like really chaotic, dark times. I just want to set the scene for people who maybe didn't.
RUNE is going down quickly. We had gone from $6 to $3, which that was still kind of like maybe survivable. I don't think so, but maybe. But then you have this dramatic drop, $3 to $1. That's but I'm gonna get there in a second. The thing is, you have this insolvent protocol. You don't have enough Bitcoin to pay Bitcoin lenders and savers. You don't have enough ETH to pay ETH lenders and savers. If you did, you would actually kill THORChain and all RUNE holders and node operators, which are worth more than 200 million. So you would have you bail out the savers and lenders, which arguably they have less control. They're more the affected party here, but by destroying also $500 million of equity, because that's more or less what there was back then. Now there's two things going for THORChain and why I think it survived. Because if it didn't have these two things, nothing I did or anyone else did would matter. You would just be kind of splitting hairs and like crumbs. Which is what happened in Terra. Number one is THORChain has a monster cash flow. It's a cash cow. And the cash flow did not depend on the products that went bust. So THORChain swaps are very profitable, very, very popular. It has a lot of product market fit. It has a lot of volume. And it doesn't depend on lending and savers to happen. Without savers and lenders, THORChain can still crack out swaps. So that's number one. And the number two thing is a lot of people care about THORChain. Everybody involved here is kind of like with the mission of, we want to make permissionless swaps between different chains. It's the only way to kind of satisfy Satoshi's vision and permissionless money. So you have all these people that care. So now the stage is set. It's ingredients are there. We're insolvent, but people care, and the cash flow is there, and the assets are there's still exogenous assets in the pool. We're insolvent, we cannot pay everyone back, but since it's paused, the assets are still in the pool. So now what do we do? And that's when all authors started to come online and say, like, I think we should do this, I think we should do that. TCD came with 2 proposals, Nine came with 2 proposals, JP came with 1 proposal, several other proposals. And this happened from the second pause, which was 27th of January. So a little bit earlier even. I think they started looking at proposals 2 weeks before February 2nd. So, but then the pause had to be reinstated again because it started bleeding again. So it's paused again. All of this is happening. People are running all of these proposals. I'm speaking with each of them, giving feedback, saying why I don't think we should dollarize, saying why I don't think it's also shouldn't be done in kind, why I think there should be a very automatic way for people to enter and exit their debt positions. But I did think a little bit about the Maya token that we have on Maya protocol that gets 10% of fees, and that's how our team got compensated and we managed to launch fairly. But I couldn't see the whole picture. And then on the 1st of February, I actually heard that JP was in Mexico. I went to meet with him and discuss what's going on, the merits of each proposal, what should be done. But it's a difficult nut to crack. And we were waiting and seeing what people thought, what people wanted. There were many people trying to offer help and support. But then 2nd of February starts, and it's in Allende. RUNE price has crashed further. There's 30 nodes leaving, and the boiling pot is it's out because there was uncertainty about what would happen. The clock was ticking. There was a proposal, a very good faith, well thought out proposal, but the problem is it was very punishing for validators as well. And the problem with validators is many of them are anonymous and they can just go. if they don't like what they're seeing, they can already also arguably be pretty punished. Like people think about savers and lenders and LPs and like notes, many of them diamond handed from $10 RUNE to $1 RUNE because you cannot withdraw your RUNE until you churn out.
Sure.
So some people say, you know what, I'll take the loss. Let me leave the network next churn. I will get my RUNE and I'll go. So you have these 30 validators, each with like 1 million RUNE each. That's 30 million RUNE. That's a huge thing if you have a failed asset. And then you have all of this problem, and I wake up and I say this thing. The churn happens, and the fund migration ends. These nodes get back their RUNE, they sell it on the market. THORChain is going to zero. And the problem is, if THORChain goes to zero, so do the exogenous assets in the pools. So people that were saying, look, guys, just give us, pay us back. Chapter 7, let's shut this down, pay everybody back the Bitcoin and ETH that's left, take the L. Well, there's two problems. Number one is, even then, you would have gotten 20 cents on the dollar at best. And that's if it were possible, because as soon as you announce that would happen and people start selling off the RUNE, the RUNE price drop actually makes the effect of having TVL leave the pools.
Right.
Because as RUNE goes down in value, you can now essentially do an arbitrage opportunity where you buy RUNE outside of the network, sell it there at a profit for Bitcoin, take the Bitcoin out.
Oh, wow.
So if RUNE kept going down and down and down, so too would have the exogenous assets. And that's what we saw when RUNE was at 6, we had something like $400 million of exogenous assets. At that point, we had 60. It would have gone to zero. So it was definitely a very precarious situation. And I actually had to drive to Mexico City to see my sister. She was giving birth to her kid. So I was yeah.
What an amazing time for you.
and I was driving and I was like, THORChain is a ticket. It has an expiration time set, and it's around 12 to 16 hours from now. We don't do anything. So I was driving and I got the shout out to Pedro from Thor Wallet, CryptoXZ. He wrote a brilliant proposal as well about, hey guys, let's just launch a Maya token called TCY. Give 10% of the SOP is to that. But what we'll do is we will go and raise money from people interested in spending out THORChain. We raise the capital and then go and pay the affected parties and give these guys the TCY. The problem is, the problem there is you have the issue of who do you trust to raise the money, and how can you trust them to actually put the money into the victims and not, go to the Bahamas or whatever. That's number one. Number two, let's say you don't raise the 210 million, you just raise 150.
Right.
You're forcing people to take the haircut. They're not deciding for themselves, and you have no way to make them vote. And the third problem is, how long will that take? Going and raising 210 or $150 million. It's gonna take 6 months, 12 months. In the meantime, what about THORChain? What's it doing? How does it look? But he writes a proposal. I read it that morning, and all of a sudden, kind of everything clicked for me. And
you got the wheels turning for you.
Yeah, my brother-in-law is also a bankruptcy lawyer, and I've always talked a lot about bankruptcies with him, all sorts of things. And there's this thing called in Chapter 11, which is when the business is viable, it's generating cash, like THORChain does. The only problem on why it's insolvent is because of the terms of the debt, not because of the state of the business. The business is good, it just has a lot of a debt burden, a financial burden. So if you can renegotiate this and leave the company alive, it's actually better for the creditors. That's a Chapter 11, and there's many styles of Chapter 11. One of which is debt to equity conversion, which is, yes, I'm owed this much, the business is good, I'll clear the debt, the company doesn't owe me anymore, but it gives me shares of the company. So now the owners take a haircut, which is what happened on THORChain. The nodes and the RUNE holders now get 10% less fees. But now in this debt to equity, we could skip the raising money part. We could skip we choose your haircut for you, and we skip I have to trust someone, and it might take a year long. Because now what we do is we create this token, we give it to the victims directly, to the affected users directly. So now they have the TCY, and they choose at what point they want to sell. And they can say, 20, 30 cents is enough for me. No, I'll wait for 50. No, I'll wait for $1. So everybody decides where they want to go. Or they can stay and they can say, I think THORChain will grow. I like this UI as an asset. I'm clinging on.
So to be clear, this is the basis of Prop 6.
This is the basis of Prop 6. Okay. So I was thinking about it the 5 hours. I actually wrote the first version driving on the highway at like 140 kilometers per hour. I published it in the Maya server, Discord server, because I was talking with some people there, and I just had it too fresh. I needed to write it.
Yeah.
I kept thinking about many things on the drive. I got to the hospital. My sister's son wasn't born yet, so I actually started writing it in like 15, 20 minutes. I published it. I started kind of broadcasting it all over the place. People would give me feedback. I would say, oh, that's a good idea. Oh, that's a good point. I would go back, fix it. And then I got on, I started sending it out to people by DMs and Twitter and Discord and everything. And then there was a spaces with Kenton. He was explaining the merits of TCB's proposal and kind of also trying to urgently kind of get some consensus around that one. So I connect and I say, I have this proposal. It's great. Hear me out. Kenton is like, oh, I don't know. I just start saying it. I was, oh, sorry, I have to go. my sister's kid is being born. So I just spoke like for 5, 10, 15 minutes and left. And then, people started voting for it. As I was in the hospital, we used to just have one validator that turned in very recently. So we weren't involved in the savers or THORChain at all, voting on it. And we also didn't vote for any of the bosses or anything. So we were always very neutral. But I don't have access to the notes, so I didn't vote. So we didn't even, and my proposal started getting more votes than the 9 rounds proposal and the JP proposal. All of a sudden, I had 13, I think. I was like, okay, this might actually work. So, I see the little kid. I say hi to him for the first time and went off to speak with validators, with 9 realms, with JP, with whoever would listen to me, and started rallying gradually. I started to catch on more. I ended up connecting to another space that evening. But by that time, it wasn't like, oh, let me listen to the proposal. It was more like, dude, your proposal's great. Let's talk about it. Please, let's do it. And there were so many people connected. It was so fun. And my dad arrived because we were gonna have, me and him some tacos after, a day at the hospital. So, I had to again go, have dinner with my dad, come back. The space, I think, was like 4 hours long. There's a recording there somewhere. And I couldn't sleep until it passed, like at 4 a.m. So I wrote
the same day, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote it at 6:30 p.m. I think, or 6 or 6:30, and by 4 a.m. it had passed with 67% consensus. Now,
insane day for you.
It was insane.
Oh my God.
And the next day I had to now drive to Guadalajara. So yeah, it was crazy.
A lot of beautiful things were born that day.
Yeah, but now I got a big problem, which is it passed. Now what? Now do it. So I was now kind of stuck, and I was like, oh shit, okay. I have to get to work now. So talked with 9 rounds. TCB came to Guadalajara for 3 days to help me plan the details and make an implementation plan and kind of model things out, see what to do about DLPs, which is they're keeping their sync leverage to the upside, which is what's happening. They're happy. See what to do with the sync reserve, see what to do with several details. Again, TCB is great. He cares about his future, and nobody will shoot themselves in the foot, and that's normal. But he cares so deeply about THORChain and done so much so quietly. So I don't like to see when he's criticized for just doing what everybody else did, which is take care of their bag. Sure. But anyway, that's a tangent. But we started to work, plan the thing, and start talking to more people about how should it be done in code? Should we do anything differently to the Maya token? How will the pool work? Where will the fees go? What happens if somebody doesn't claim? At the beginning, we didn't know we didn't have to claim. But as it passed and we had to think, I was like, okay, we don't have their THORChain addresses. We have their Bitcoin addresses. So how do I send them TCY? So I need them to tell me what the THORChain address is. And that's when the claiming happened. Okay, now we're going to claim. What happens to the yield of those who don't claim? It started evolving over time. And we went live. So 2nd of February, I wrote the proposal. 3rd of February, very early day passed. And by 5th of May, we launched. So like the trading of TCY, the yield of TCY, all the claims opened up. So yeah, essentially 210 million TCY were minted, out of which 206 million were given to TCY holders, one per every dollar that they were owed at the time of the second pause on 27th of January. And yeah, essentially what that means is when TCY, like everybody had Bitcoin in ETH, and those will fluctuate. Actually, at a point in time, ETH savers and lenders could have been made 100% whole if they sold the top of TCY at 54 cents a few weeks ago.
Already?
Yeah, because it went down. But we care a little bit more about, okay, what were you owed in dollars in practice? Like, I know you want Bitcoin, you can go and get Bitcoin now if you don't want to have the opportunity cost. But for us, kind of like when the payouts of TCY plus the price of TCY is equal or greater than $1, that means that, we paid back the dollar value of the 27th of January.
That was my next question. At what point are TCY holders made whole? And I didn't realize this, but TCY actually stands for THORChain yield for anyone that...
Yeah. Well, it's just TCY.
TCY,
it can mean whatever you want. It means whatever you want.
Okay.
But the important part is they're already made whole. We already gave them the asset. It's 10% of the swap fees. That's what we're paying them. That's done. It's finished.
Okay.
They can morally consider themselves paid out by them. But the protocol already covered its obligation when it converted their debt to equity. So it's... we launched and we shot up to 54 cents immediately. Then came back down to a more like 25 to 30 range where it's been most of the time. But the range has been steadily increasing.
It launched a couple weeks ago, early May.
Yeah, 5th of May. So what is it? 18 days ago, not even 3 weeks. And
it's going way better than expected. Is that?
Yes. I did. This was in my projections, one of the very, very bullish ones. So we're definitely outperforming, but many people thought it was going to be, 5 to 10 cents. Others 10 to 15. I always say it was going to be 15 to 25 at the beginning. So I was surprised when we were at a little bit over 25 steadily. Right now it's at 42 cents. Yesterday it was at 54 for a little while.
Yeah.
So it's definitely an interesting asset. And the reason why it's interesting is because it's a pure play on THORChain's current and future volume. Because if you think the volume is going to be higher, you can buy it today at a discount to be exposed to the future volume. So it's a highly speculative asset where you can get your place before someone else. Because if you wait for that future volume to be present, the TCY price will already have shot upwards. So you're too late. So it's a very interesting dynamic there. It also has a lot of sources of buy pressure because what we do with the unclaimed yield is actually swap it for TCY and make that be protocol owned. And that TCY that's protocol owned next day, its yield will also buy more TCY. And then the TCY RUNE pool, the TCY there, its yield will also buy more TCY. And the TCY RUNE swap fees will also buy more TCY. So there's a lot of buy pressure built into the token by the protocol itself that's constantly bidding on the TCY price. So today, if you buy today, you're also front running all the future protocol buying, which is price indiscriminate. The protocol will buy no matter the price. It's TCYing in. The protocol is essentially a TCY maxi that every day wakes up with more cash because of swap fees.
Right.
So it's an interesting dynamic. It's a very interesting token. I'm very glad we were able to launch it. Shout out to everybody who helped. Orion was invaluable from 9 Realms. He was every step of the way there. I mean, we met practically daily. And we've kept meeting daily, even if we launched, because, we're now used to it.
Yeah.
Bitol, he coded, around 100,000 lines of code.
Oh my gosh.
2 months. It's my co-founder. He reviewed everything, tested everything, and, went on this crazy side quest with me to essentially help a competitor survive, which is something that you wouldn't see on traditional finance at all. But why we did it is simple. Maya's protocol's mission is to be redundancy in the cross-chain space. We can only achieve our mission if there's 2 of us. even if Maya is left alone, we're not redundancy. We're again in this brittle, very difficult position where, you know, we're all there is for permissionless Bitcoin to ETH swaps.
Sure.
So we had to get involved, and I'm very glad we did, and we were able to help. There were dozens and dozens of developers, designers, marketeers, node operators, liquidity providers, RUNE holders that supported and helped and advised or got hands-on every step of the way. Those listening know who you are. Shout out to you guys. Thank you. So it was, again, a lot of people care about THORChain, and that's why it was possible. But yeah, what's cooking now is, you know, THORChain will keep expanding. We will launch XRP, we will launch Jira, just launched today actually. It will launch Solana. It will keep integrating more wallets. It will go to 2 second block times to be able to be even more capital efficient. And all of that, what it will cost is hopefully volumes up. And that means fees up, and that means TCY get made whole sooner. So yeah, my heart out to all of those affected users. It was a terrible time for them.
Yeah.
Arguably still is, but right now it's, you know, 42 cents, where it's now 42% better. Hoping we get to that 100% real soon.
I think it's incredible what you guys have created. You've really set a new precedent when you think about the bankruptcies we experienced with Celsius and FTX, and creditors have been waiting years to get pennies on the dollar, and the lawyers took most of it. I'm very familiar because I was a Celsius creditor.
I would like to know your experience, because I think I've said this, like I've said, guys, FTX, Celsius, going the legal system is worse. But, you know, I say it, I know it is, but it's so different to hear it from someone's fresh perspective. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about that?
Honestly, it was a really horrible time for me because I had just lost a bunch of money in Luna, and it's like, thinking back, it was so silly. And I kept a little bit of Bitcoin in Celsius because when I first started in crypto, I accidentally fell for a MetaMask scam and I had a wallet drained. And so, how do I say this? I thought that, you know, self-custody is great, but you have to have complete trust in yourself. And at that point in time, I didn't have complete trust in myself. So I said, I'll just leave a little bit of Bitcoin on Celsius and never have to worry about it. Of course, it's worth a lot more now, and it's hard to stomach that. But when Celsius failed, it was a really dark time because there was a long time of waiting and limbo, and people were so angry, and it was months and months before there was a solution, and just weeks and weeks of endless spaces and just so much negativity and people wanting to blame everyone and point the finger, you know, when really we're the ones responsible, right? Because we didn't do our due diligence with our investment. But long story short, they had people try to come up with proposals, but the lawyers got at least 9 figures, I think, so much money. And then maybe 2 years later, I got less than 10% of the amount of Bitcoin I had, but that was based on the price that Bitcoin was when Celsius went under, which was, I think, $17,000. Yeah, overall, just a horrible experience. I'm glad that I got something back, and I'm grateful for it, and I'm grateful for the lesson that I learned. And I know a lot of people had a lot more money and they really struggled. And to think if the claims could have been tokenized and paid back in this way, I mean, it just would have been a much better experience. So kind of living through the Celsius, and I know FTX people are maybe only just starting to get their claims soon. Like, this is a new precedent, and I think it's so amazing what you guys have built. And to think that this happened in January, it's May, it's only been 4 months, and people are already able to be 40% whole. They might be 100% whole in as soon as 4 or 5 months, and that just boggles my mind. And
yeah.
That is.
Well, I'm so sorry it happened to you. It's still like, nobody wants that to happen. I think nobody actively says, "Oh, let's say people suffer." No, it's terrible. But I think you did the right thing. Take responsibility. You know, move forward, and don't waste time in things that are not really gonna make you any happier. If people just you're either get involved in solving the solution or just let people cook. If you're having a sinking ship, complaining and blaming is not helping. It's just making things worse for everybody. But yeah, so essentially you got 10 cents on the dollar from back then, but like 5% of your original Bitcoin holding.
Probably something like that. It was not much.
Yeah. Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah.
Insane.
So I was wondering, I've seen a lot of people post about different strategies for TCY. So for someone that's holding it, what are the options available to them? Staking.
So so you don't want to just hold it because you're leaving money on the table. If you just stake it, you're getting the 10% of the sub revenues, of the sub fees. The staking has no lockups, no cool-offs, no freezes, no nothing. You just stake it, and then later you unstake it. It's instant, 1 second. So 6 seconds, 1 block. Now you can, as soon as you stake it, you can send it, you can swap it to RUNE or to Bitcoin or whatever you like. So if you have TCY, just make sure it's either stake or Jira will come up soon with an auto-compounding smart contract so that you can send them TCY, they send you back STCY, which is the stake representation of TCY. So it's a non-rebasing yield-bearing token such that when you come back and give that STCY back in the future, it's going to be worth more than 1 TCY. You're going to get 1.1 TCY, let's say, or 1.2 TCY back. So because it's accruing the yield into the contract and making this kind of auto-compounding for you. So yeah, now there's a very nice dashboard on THORChain.net. If you go to THORChain TCY, and there you can see all of these stats, you can track them, and you can see more or less how it behaves. So if you like to enter, you can kind of choose a nice entry point, and it's doing pretty well. You can diversify out. It's getting, the yield is paid directly to your wallet. So if you have TCY, you stake it, and now you're getting RUNE to your wallet directly. You don't have to claim the rewards. You won't find a tax ID, because if there was a tax ID, it's because we would do an actual transaction that would pay 0.02 RUNE gas fee every payout every day, because payouts are daily, every 14,400 bucks, which is a day roughly. So that would be very inefficient. So instead, it's just kind of, it's a module to account balance transaction. So it will just appear in the balance of your wallet. So you're not paying this gas every day. Yeah, because else especially for small positions, small people, like the shrimps, which I care the most about, honestly, they would get eroded with so many gas fees. If you have, 100 TCY or so, you probably practically get nothing. You're paying gas fees every day. So this way, that essentially what is happening is the nodes are completing all of these for you, and they're not charging a tax fee. So they're kind of footing the bill for you, which I think is fair. I think that nodes should do that for to account for their mistakes. They got a 10% swap fee haircut, and they're footing the bill on many of these transactions like reputations at no cost, which is fair. They're also not getting any part of the yield, any part of the TCY RUNE pool fees. So they don't go to nodes. They go back to make people whole through buying TCY. Because the main avenue for people to get paid back is not really the payouts. The payouts is what makes the token work, but the main avenue is the token price. And in having this protocol constantly buying TCY from the pool, constantly pushing the price up, to have whenever you claim, if somebody just found out about THORChain today and goes out and claims, he can get 42 cents immediately. He doesn't need to wait for years to be paid back. The people actually that will actually wait all those years to be paid out are investors that believe in THORChain, and they're willing to pay now, provide liquidity today to people wishing to get out. So it's a very nice system where every person chooses their haircut. People that believe in the system can invest in it for the long term, and we have a recovery plan. All of these while keeping the system sustainable. 10% is the swap fees is, it's painful, but it won't kill the incentive to be a node or an LP. It won't completely drain THORChain. It's a little tax it now has. Maya protocol has had it from the start, because that's how we launched, and it is what it is.
Is there a world where creditors are made more than whole with TCY?
Yeah, so THORChain has no opinion on the TCY price. It can go beyond $1, and that's perfectly fine. If it keeps, THORChain's volume keeps increasing, and people believe it will keep increasing further, and they're willing to pay more than $1 for the $210 million market cap for a right to 10% of sub fees forever, yeah, you go over $1. Bitfinex is a very nice example to their token also that was similar. In their case, it was more like with Pedro's proposal, where they went and raised money through that token, and with that they paid back people. But some people chose to keep that token too instead. And now it not only made people whole eventually, they were patient, but it's now 8 times worth 8 times what they were owed. So that can definitely happen here. Interesting. I didn't know about that case until I came out with Prop 6. Some very seasoned people that have been here for long and know the big Bitfinex situation. She was back in like 2016 or something, 2017 I was. So it was way back. I only started in crypto 2018, so it's before my time. But back then, yeah, they did that, and they say, hey, Aaluxx, it's very similar to Bitfinex. And I was like, oh shit, that's, yeah, good. It means we're kind of doing something right, because one of the few successful examples of people being made whole after a crypto-related insolvency was Bitfinex, and they did pretty much what we've been doing. So props to them, and yeah, happy to see that working back here.
Yeah, that's great. We touched on this a minute ago, but for someone that is just really bullish on the future of THORChain and the long-term vision, would they buy TCY instead of RUNE, or would they buy both? Or
yeah, it depends. It depends on the price of each. It can be that TCY is under or overvalued with respect to RUNE, depending on what other people have chosen to do. So everybody has their own thesis. I think TCY is more of a pure play on future volumes of the protocol, whereas RUNE is not only about future volumes but also about how much TVL do you think it's going to have, how many node bonds, how much of the burn, and how much that effect will have. So it's just different. TCY is definitely a simpler play, because you're getting a share of the yield without having to bond to a node or do more complicated things, risk slashing, be frozen up. So I think it is a very nice play for the little guy. But if you come and TCY is 20% of RUNE's market cap, at that point I suggest buying RUNE. TCY is a bit overpriced at that range. So it's kind of like, go look at the behavior it's had and make your own little thesis. Both are definitely a play THORChain's future. So it's not like one is a leverage player or anything. It's just they're a little bit different instruments that are exposed to the success of a very, very interesting protocol. So yeah, place your bets. But do your research, because everybody's responsible. The code is open source. Things are out there. Ask, see the documentation, read up a little bit. Don't make blind investments, because that's what got us here in the first place.
Totally. That's probably the best advice that anyone could give. So really, TCY is equivalent to the Maya token, and RUNE is equivalent to the Cacao token, as we know.
Oh, Maya. Yep.
That's amazing. Wow. Okay, so I wanted to switch gears and talk about Maya a little bit, because how can we not? It's been amazing to watch your guys launch over the last couple of years. You've been busy. You just integrated Zcash. I want to know about that. What's next for Maya, and anything else you want to share?
We just integrated Zcash this week, so that's fun. For those of you who don't know, we also have Bitcoin on Ethereum, like THORChain. But besides that, we have Arbitrum, Kujira, Radix Network, Dash Network, now Zcash, Cardano, and Caspa are up next later this year. So it's a very wildly different chain set in THORChain. And yeah, we're gonna be doing the best we can to keep up with our big brother. We're definitely planning to do Jira, shorted log times, everything with the Maya twist as always, just a little bit different with what we need to be better, and maybe testing things. And then that's a very nice way to design and come up with better alternatives. But yeah, we've been integrated since we talked. When we talked, we had Thor Wallet. Now we have Thor Wallet, Asgardex, THORSwap, Shapeshift is coming. We've got
El Dorito.
Dorado, El Dorito, sorry. I always still call them El Dorito. We have Mocha, we have Leodex, and more coming. I cannot share yet, but more coming.
Oh, that's
and So definitely a journey. It's a marathon though, not a sprint. We've always been kind of long-term thinkers, long-term builders. So, people say, oh, why don't you hire influencers? Why don't you list cacao on a sex? And all of that doesn't matter. It's might pump a little bit. It's coming back down with its own weight. You have to, the fundamentals is what matters. But if you have a product like Maya does, you're not a meme token. There, it's all hyper bust. We have something of value. So that's where we're honing in. That's what we're rolling out. That's what we're focusing on, and everything else is noise. So we're just gonna keep building, and hopefully that keeps our stats up and up and up, and that gets us somewhere. Because we really want to make a dent in the space, bring THORChain technology and cross-chain swaps to more and more chains all around the world, and keep the principles of permissionlessness. It's all too valuable to let go.
It's amazing what can happen in 2 years. One thing that really stood out to me when we talked last time was you launched Maya in the bear market, and had you waited or done it at a different time, I mean, obviously you could have made so much money, blah, 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 it would have been different, but you really focused on that launch and just having everything right and having everything be fair. And I think that's awesome. And I think you're awesome.
Thanks. Yeah. So we Maya like THORChain tech and Maya protocol are a very complicated machine. Launching in a bear is a smart call because you can work out the kinks with much smaller volumes. Back then we would have, $50,000 to $500,000 a day in a good day. Right now, our record has been 44 million one day. We regularly go more like around 4 million right now. Obviously looking to grow, but launching in the bear was much more comfortable, because then we could slowly get acquainted with the tech. Because we tested, we did a lot before we launched, but it was nothing like real world, real swaps, real users, real money. So learning the ropes to the bear and being ready for this bull is essentially what we've done all this while. Prepare for the next wave. And honestly, this bull will come and go, and still will be here. But it's not the cycle I care about the next one. That's the one when we should be many chains, many futures, many things rolled out, so much DeFi products, so many integrations, so much capital efficiency. So we really take the market share then. Right now we're still in the preparation phase and playing the long game. So get ready for that, guys.
And are you going to still be contributing with THORChain? I know that you've always kind of had a symbiotic relationship, but having this...
For sure. And I think more so now, because I think we're much closer than ever. It's many people realized through all of this process that THORChain and Maya are cut from the same cloth. We're changing some things together. So I really think me and my devs will keep developing some stuff for THORChain. I'll keep being a voice now. I was trying to be prudent before, I'm to kind of like THORChain, and I'm the annoying little sister. I'll kind of shut up if I don't have something smart to say. But I think we're at a point now where we've earned our place, we've earned our voice, so we will use it and try to steer THORChain to a brighter future. So we'll expect us here, but Maya is still what's deep down here in my heart, so we're not going anywhere there either.
I'm glad to hear that, and I do think the future is bright. I'm a believer that every ending is just paving the way for a beautiful new beginning, and I think that's exactly what's happened here, specifically with THORChain in the last couple of months. Thanks to you and the community, THORChain gets to stand another day, right, and continue this beautiful cross-chain, permissionless, decentralized future we all believe in. And creditors are well on their way to being made whole. And I think that's absolutely incredible. So well done. And thank you. And that's all I really have. And I look forward to seeing you in a few days at the Bitcoin conference, actually. Yeah, it's going to be fun. And hopefully next interview is not 2 years from now. Hopefully it's soon. All right. Well, thank you so much for having us, and see you next week. And I'm looking forward to the episode being published. Thank you. I'm looking forward to it too. All right. See ya. See you.